This small house in Cwmdare, we've christened it Heritage Cottage. It's an ordinary terraced house, but the difference is it hasn't been touched. When you go inside, you can step back in time to 1854 when it was first built, so it's special. And as far as we're aware, it's unique, and that's why we purchased it. It's not a castle, it's not a cathedral, you know, it's not the heritage that we all sort of admire. It's the heritage that is so close to everybody because most people in Wales have either lived or live in a terraced house.
Well, this heritage cottage is really significant because it allows us to tell the social story of the mining sort of families of the area. It's very rare that you find a cottage like this so untouched, so it's unique in its completeness, if you like, and the stories it tells. But also we have a wonderful wealth of social information about it because the lady we purchased it off, she's 83, and so she was actually able to give us an awful lot of information about what it was like growing up in the area and living and you know, the working life of this family.
If you look at Heritage Cottage, this terraced house, and compare it, say, to Castell Coch, which is just down the road from here, they're both built in lumps of stone, bedded, jointed and pointed in lime mortar. Built the same way, designed the same way, they perform the same way, so they should be treated the same way. But whereas Castell Coch and other castles like that, which are protected because they're listed buildings or scheduled monuments, would receive the treatment of what we call the conservation industry, a terraced house like this would receive the treatment of the mainstream part of our industry. And on the whole, people have not been trained in the repair and maintenance of buildings, let alone how to repair and maintain a traditional building like this. We're carrying out tests and analysis at Heritage Cottage in order to understand it a lot better. We'll measure the performance of the building, so we'll actually understand, you know, with figures, you know, what improvements we're making. So we're carrying out in situ U-value tests of the walls, so we can actually know what the thermal value of the walls of this property are, and we'll compare that with the published data that tells you what they should be. We'll also carry out environmental monitoring inside the building to see how this building performs, thermally performs, and also carrying out other tests like thermal coheating tests to find out how efficient this building is in terms of the way it uses energy.
Well, I think the future for Heritage Cottage is really bright. We are looking at ways in which not only we can show how it can be looked after for the future, but also we're looking at creative ways of giving people access. It's a very small site. It's in it's in an area where you have neighbours who are still living and working in their properties, and so we have to be very sympathetic about how we do that. But certainly using virtual tools and audio tours and working with partners like Deer Valley Country Park, we hope that we can give people a real sense of what Heritage Cottage was all about.
Whilst we want to promote best practice and highlight best practice, we must make sure that people are equipped to actually deploy that best practice on other buildings in Wales and elsewhere. So as part of this process, we'll be actually facilitating visits to this property. We will have people training on this project. We'll have our craft apprentices training on this project. And we'll allow other people to actually come and see what we're doing in order they can learn from what we're doing here for the greater good of the traditional buildings in Wales.